In today's increasingly competitive world, it is becoming more and more important that our youngest generations are receiving a strong education that will help them succeed in a risky job market and help America thrive on a global scale. However, in times of economic trouble, it is not always easy to determine how to provide this essential education to students in the best way possible. There is much debate over how much funding schools should receive from the government and the benefits of attending a public school versus a private school. One way that people have tried to increase the quality of education is by creating charter schools, which receive public funding but operate as private schools. These schools receive their funding and autonomy in exchange for meeting accountability standards articulated in their charters. Since the first law allowing the establishment of charter schools was passed in Minnesota in 1991, the number of students enrolled in public charter schools has increased from 0.3 million students to over 2 million students. And there are over 5,600 charter schools in existence today in 41 states and the District of Columbia. While charter schools provide unique educational opportunities that enrich students' experiences, they do create inequality by weeding out students with the most potential and are deemed unfair by some because they are funded by the public, yet operate as private entities.
So what are they then? They are free public schools. Usually they're non-selective, but not always. When there's high demand, students are chosen by lottery. And they all have their own charter to operate independently outside the local school district. This gives each charter school more freedom to make decisions about how to spend money and serve students. In exchange, charter schools are supposed to be accountable. If they don't meet certain standards, they can have their charter revoked and shut down.
Charter schools were originally conceived as a solution to America's education problem. By the 90s, it became increasingly apparent that the United States was falling behind the rest of the world in terms of education, and much of this was attributed to the shortcomings of public education. Many inner-city public schools were in dire need of help, and despite many efforts to reinvigorate the existing school system, nothing seemed to work. Charter schools were a new idea, something that strayed from the traditional ways in which public schools operated. Because charter schools aren't limited by certain government regulations, they have the freedom to innovate in ways that improve student achievement that traditional public schools do not. Charter schools do this by offering longer school days and adjusting curricula to more precisely meet student needs. They are free to set their own hours of operation. If the school wants to give students more time in the classroom to boost student achievement, they can offer classes into the weekend and during summer months. A charter school also has the freedom to break up the day to provide students with more time on essential core subjects. Charter school teachers have the strongest say in the curriculum that they teach and are able to change the materials and tools they use throughout the year to meet students' individual needs. Meanwhile, traditional public schools are bound by a set of curriculum for the year and are unable to customize their materials and change them throughout the year in ways that benefit the students. The freedom given to charter schools also gives them the opportunity to develop educational methods, which is why charter schools are often on the forefront of educational innovation. For example, virtual charter schools are becoming increasingly popular. They exist entirely online and use technology to change the dynamics of the classroom and provide students with more flexibility in their learning.
Charter schools are really experimental. They are trying out education policies that the regular public schools often don't feel comfortable trying out.
Some of the benefits of charter schools are obvious and undeniable. Because charter schools are not bound by governmental regulations, they have the freedom to innovate to their students' advantage, which ultimately increases the quality of education and therefore increases student achievement. Despite the perceived advantages of charter schools, there is much public debate about exactly how beneficial the institution is and how effective increasing the number of charter schools throughout the country will be on education in America as a whole. Charter schools are given the unique opportunity to handpick students who will attend the school, a benefit not given to traditional public schools. Oftentimes, admittance into a charter school is based on merit, special talent, or a lottery system. The admittance problem is explored in the Academy Award-winning documentary, Waiting for Superman. This documentary asserts that it leads to a skewed student body, one that does not represent the younger generation as a whole, but rather a select group of individuals. Measuring the competency of this select group is not representative of students as a whole and therefore cannot be used to compare. Charter schools receive their funding from the government. and therefore divert some of the money that would have gone to public schools, many of which are already struggling financially. A 2009 study done by Stanford University found that charter schools, on average, show results that are the same or worse than their public school counterparts. With all of the money and resources that are put into these schools, is it really worth it?
A bleak picture of Kansas City public education is outlined in this study released this month by the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. Take a look at what we found. In math, on average, Kansas City public school students outperformed 17 charter schools, even though both fell short of state standards.
Charter schools face many challenges today as they are looked upon to fix the ailing public education system in America. While providing a flexible, more tailored curriculum and tackling the needs of individual students, they are hampered by enrollment barriers and a failure to provide convincing results. Today, the number of charter schools in America is on the rise, despite the many critics of their existence, making the issue a continued controversy.